All right. Hey, I'm Shovel, and if you've been watching my channel, you know that several months ago, way too many months ago, I bought an F-150 with a bad engine, close to free, with the intention of bringing that thing back to life, bringing you along on the experience, showing you what can be done with a cheap truck. And that's all fine. Like, there hasn't been any problem with that, but life never really gives you the opportunity to prioritize things in the most fun way. So, you know, sometimes weather, sometimes health, sometimes money, sometimes household stuff just kind of gets in the way. So we're still moving along. The engine is in the truck. I'll cut in here, picture of it in the truck to prove it's in there. Like, we're real close on that. But I wanted to kind of get some of my housekeeping done meanwhile. And I thought what we'd do for this video is we're just gonna hang out. I'm not gonna monetize it. I'm gonna play some music that's copyrighted. So that means that you're gonna probably still get commercials if you're not a YouTube Plus subscriber or whatever. I have no control over that. I'm not gonna get paid for this video, and that's totally okay. What I'm gonna get paid for is I'm gonna learn what broke this engine, and I'm also gonna get this out of the way. I'm basically gonna get this kind of off my table. It's gonna go get stored somewhere out of the way until I figure out what I really wanna do with it. What you're gonna get out of this video is we're gonna hang out, we're gonna listen to some tunes, we're gonna take apart this motor and see what killed it. I'll bring you up to speed on that in a second. But first, let's get some tunes going. So that's just a media player that's gonna sit there and play random stuff out of my library, and it's mostly for me so I don't go crazy, because I can't just work out here by myself in silence. It doesn't work. You gotta have the tunes to get the fluids going. I'm cold, so we're gonna just kind of get through this. What's going on with this motor right here is that this thing came out of a 2003 F-150. It's a 4.2 liter SXV6. Those don't tend to die of old age. Like, those things will outlast the sun and the next sun after it. They're an immortal engine if you just do like oil changes, change the valve guide seals if they're like more than 20 years old, because they'll probably be burning oil. Make sure your cooling system works. That motor will just keep on going, because it's like 4.2 liters and it only makes like 200 horsepower. So it's not under a lot of stress. It's a pretty robust, well-established design. So the only way you kill them is by just straight up neglecting them. And that's what the owner of this thing did. I found mud in the oil filter when I cut that open. The air filter assembly was not like properly assembled. There was tons of vacuum leaks. It probably just got driven carelessly until it stopped driving. So we're gonna find out exactly what's going on with this thing internally, get an idea of why it's so bad. I got my suspicions, and pretty much just hang out listening to tunes basically. If you're like thoroughly bored of this, I don't blame you. Skip to the end and I'll kind of do a little summary real quick at the end of this video. I'm sure you can find where the slider is. Anyway, let's get to work. First thing, these are the headers or manifolds, and I'm not sure I can really show this very well, but they're just thoroughly coked up because this thing was burning a lot of oil. And so they are just thoroughly filled up with soot that you wouldn't see in a good running engine, because a good running engine that's not burning oil, really there's not much particulate matter going down the exhaust. If your PCV loop is working correctly, if your valve seals are not, all blown out and whatever, you're not going to burn a lot of oil, and then you're not going to have that. Man, this is some chill tunes to start us out with here. We got some like flute. What is this? We got the Enya. Enya rocking out, nice. Yeah, this one's like, you can actually even see on this one, maybe. I don't know how well it's gonna show. But yeah, like it's even starting to encroach in the diameter of it. Nasty. This is the water pump that was in the truck, and I decided to just go ahead and replace the water pump. There wasn't really anything specifically wrong with this. You can see that it's got some rust on there and also in there, and that's not from the duration of time that I owned the truck. That's from when it was probably sitting for like a year before I took ownership of it. So yeah, I decided that water pumps are cheap. Bought a new one. This is the oil pump that was in the truck previously, and again, I decided to just replace it because I don't know how good or bad the tolerances are. This one actually doesn't seem all that screwed up. Like, this seems relatively tight. There's not a lot of clickage. A little bit of clickage, but not that much. This is probably a perfectly okay oil pump, but it, brand new one's already installed. These are the old oxygen sensors, just like before, coated in oil, but we expected that because it was burning oil. This one was interesting. This is the cam phaser, or cam phase sensor, whatever. So this thing here turns on the camshaft, and then a shaft comes out of this to run the oil pump, and the sensor on top here tells the engine computer what position the cam is in, so it knows. It basically does the same thing as a distributor did. But here's the interesting part. I don't know if you're seeing that. There's like a big chip in the tooth right there. So I didn't find any corresponding big chunk of metal in the bottom of the oil pan, but yeah, there's just a big chunk of the gear missing from that. So just like everything else, if I found there was something wrong with it, I just bought a new one of these. It was only like 70 bucks, which I know that's not free, and you can nickel and dime yourself to death, 70 bucks here, 30 bucks there, etc. But I wanted to have a reliable truck, so this thing got replaced. Really bizarre to just have a big chunk of gear just like knocked out. The corresponding gear on the camshaft, by the way, looked fine. That's the corresponding gear on the camshaft, and it doesn't really have any big problems. It seems like it's a little bit like feathered, like it's kind of got a little bit of wear on it that's visible, but no chunks missing out of it. Here you can see the valley of the engine. That's the balance shaft right there. And one thing that's noteworthy on this is this truck did have 250 something thousand miles, but there's quite a lot of gack on this, like an awful lot of gack on that. And by comparison, I'll go ahead and cut in an image from my wife's car, which has the same engine, 3.8 liter, but it's the same engine otherwise. And it has 170,000 miles on it. And that's what it looks like in there. That's an engine that's been properly taken care of. It's a whole lot cleaner inside. This doesn't necessarily equal failure. It just happens to be a sign of some neglect. And of course, there's a lot of just, yuck on there. This right here, by the way, this bolt snapped while I was removing it. This is where the bracket for the power steering pump lives. And this is a M10 by 1.5 by 180 millimeter flange head bolt, which is a difficult bolt to get a hold of. I was able to get an M10 by 1.5 by 200 millimeter at Fastenal in Spokane Valley, and then I'll just use spacers to make that fit because there's really not a lot of other options. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll be able to find one of these trucks in a junkyard and pull off the actual right bolt and replace that, but that can be replaced later on the actual truck's engine. So I think the next thing we can go ahead and do is take off the rockers, and we'll take a look at how much wear there is on those. Oh, that had like no torque. That just like came right off, so that's a little scary. All right, let's take a look at this very first one here. So we can see down here, not sure how well I'll be able to get that to show. We can see down here, that's where the push rod itself is acting on it, and that looks deeper than I expected, meaning that it was really kind of grinding on there with whatever material. It wasn't just slipping, it was grinding a little bit. And also our scar right there, let's see if I can feel it with my fingernail. Yeah, there's a little, not much, it's not like a sharp lip, but I can kind of feel that there's a little dishing where that was rubbing on the top of the valve stem itself. Let's go ahead and take this thing out, take out the pedestal, look inside there. Oh yeah, the pedestal's got a groove. Yeah, again, I feel an actual step, like that's a full-on, thick as a piece of paper, maybe, step on the edge where this thing here was wearing, and you can even see the sides of this. Maybe you can see that the sides of this are kind of feathered in, which those aren't normally feathered in like that. That's just from it being very worn. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we were seeing elsewhere, and like the really low compression that the engine had and the knocking and everything. There's just been a lot of abrasives and deferred oil changes that just wore out everything at the same time. There wasn't like a single point of failure, which is why it still ran. It was just that. So these things here go in the scrap heap. These aren't going to be reusable, which doesn't matter because I have a brand new set sitting over there that I took off the new engine because I put Harlan Sharp rockers in that thing. So these guys, I'll probably hang on to these maybe. I don't know. Should I hang on to these? You tell me down in the comments. So here's one of the push rods. This is the bottom end of it that went into the actual lifter. And still mostly ball shaped. It's a little fat. This is the one that went up into the rocker at the top. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see that. Sorry, I don't have good lighting in here. Yuck. I suppose the next thing I gotta do here is take off the heads, so that should be fun. All right. The hard part here is that I have a little more to give personally, but I have to be cautious. I don't want to like upturn the engine on the stand, you know? All right, there we go. There we go. If I'm not mistaken, these things are torque to yield, which means that there's not really any value in them once you're taking them off. Probably just to like physically hold the head in place when I go to store this thing. I'm sure it'll make a mess on the ground, but I gotta clean this up anyways. Got my special kitty racing litter over there. Business. Let's see if we can get this thing rotated a little bit so that we're right about there. Gross. That's gross. These things are now kind of a liability. Don't worry, I'll bring you over there and we'll take a closer look at it over there. Just gotta rinse my hands, rinse my hands. So combustion chambers look like combustion chambers. There's not really any evidence of anything except a lot of burning oil on them. They're actually kind of consistent. Like that one looks like it probably burned a bit more oil, but really nothing to learn on this. Let's take a look in here. All right, well, we can figure that surface rust there probably came from it sitting here for a few months at this point. It's indoors, but you know, still, whatever's gonna be there. Oh, look at that. That would definitely be an issue right there. I wonder if I have a flashlight. All right, so that right there is going to be an issue. There seems to be a part of the piston missing, and we actually have the same thing going on down here and right there. So these pistons are not in fact fully intact, and that means that any amount of pouring magic juice into this engine to hope to fix it, it wouldn't have fixed that. Gross. All right, I think I probably need to put the pin back in so that this thing doesn't rotate. Somebody has to put torque into those bolts again. to try the impact again just for giggles. Yuck. Yeah, nothing really different here. It's about the same as the other one. Those heads are probably still good. All right, we got missing parts there. This one here is way at the bottom and full of water, so we might have to rotate the crank and figure out where we're at on that one. And I don't actually have anything to connect to the crank to rotate it, because the crank bolt is out there. I'm sure I'll find something though. All right, so we can see right there, missing. And then in here, you know what? I don't think we're missing anything from this piston. That piston's all right. I mean, aside from the little rust stuff there. This guy, yeah, aside from the water in it, which is draining, you actually watch the water drain. Oh, gross. Special Kitty Racing Lid is going to earn its keep this time. In fact, let's get some Special Kitty down there right now. This whole channel is not sponsored by anybody, but Special Kitty, hit me up. I guess I probably ought to be ready to catch it, huh? You got bearing material? All right, so this is one of the ones that's obviously missing material from there. Skirt, actually doesn't look all that bad. The rings are pretty loose, it feels like, but we expected that. There's our ring gap right there. I'm not sure how well it's showing up, but you can see where the ring gap is. It exists. Scoring on this, actually, this bearing material is not too bad. This is less bad than I expected. Like way less bad than I expected. This one here has the big missing bunch on here, but the other side of it also looked like it was starting to get kind of eroded, starting to fall apart maybe. It almost feels like rust, but it's not just surface rust from the short period of time it's been sitting here. It's like kind of eaten into it. So that's a little interesting. Skirts look pretty normal still. Wrist pins look pretty normal. Bearing wear, not much, honestly. The bearings, like none of them were knocking visibly. Now this thing did have a knock, and we haven't identified exactly where that was yet, but none of the ones I've taken out so far really had so much play that would make that knock, you know what I mean? So yeah, we'll keep disassembling it and see where we get on the next few pistons. This one's got the loosest wrist yet. It's still not that loose. I mean, it shouldn't be loose at all, right? But like, this is the only one that's at all loose at the wrist. Bearings on the bottom here look pretty normal. I mean, they're worn, but like not that worn. Skirts on the piston look fine. This is the least bad looking piston yet, which is weird because it has the most loose wrist yet. I don't know what to make of that. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at those bearing surfaces, and then we'll take the mains off. All right, so these guys here, really not that bad. Like I said, the bearings that rode on these guys here didn't really look all that messed up. There was no severe scoring on them. There was no like fingernail marks or anything on any of them. That one, no texture at all. It's completely smooth. Let's go ahead and rotate those guys up a little bit. Yeah. All right, let's take the mains off. Oh, those smell so bad. Why? Holy cow, that smells bad. All right, I might have to knock that with a mallet. Let's get these guys off. These things, seriously, they smell disgusting. Like if you've ever done like differential service on a vehicle, it's a little bit like burned differential oil. I don't know, the grossest stuff must have been just hanging out down here. Yeah. That stuff's nasty. I'm gonna get probably finger cancer or something. Yeah, I think I gotta smack those things with a mallet. I gotta be honest, this kind of underscores why I wanted to get this job done and off my plate as quick as I could, because this motor is not going anywhere for a long time. It sucks that it's taking up space in here and I got tools out for it. It took me way too long to find this, and this isn't even the mallet I wanted to use. I wanted to use something soft like a brass mallet so I'm not gonna do any damage, but I don't think I'm gonna do any damage with this. We're not gonna wail on it. We're just gonna give it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Just enough to move them. And I gotta move that out of the way. There we go. There we go. Cool, that's all I needed. All right, let's take a look at this first one right here. And I don't know, that doesn't look too bad. Like you can straight up see actual particles. Okay, yeah, there's like ablation. Like that looks like full-on ablation. You know, like as if it was out in space getting hit by particles of dust or whatever at high speed, which I know there would be nothing flying at this laterally. Like there would be no vector that way. It's just, it looks like there's straight up gravel got closed up in there, which can't be good. I don't know if that's from corrosive or what. Oh yeah, there's definite like fingernail marks all across this. You could play this like a record. All right, well, that tells us a bit about that one. Let's take a look at this next one right here. Okay, so definite fingernail marks. Oddly enough, this one, yeah, a little bit of fingernail mark right here. This one's a lot smoother across, except that one right there, but the bearing is like scored up bad. This one here's got our thrust, but since it's a automatic vehicle, there probably wasn't a whole lot of thrust forces on it, like there would be from a clutch. Yeah, this one's pretty rough. This one's like uniformly rough, but rough. Here's our last one. Yep, rough. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, this one's scored up bad. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we expected. It's uniform overall, but they're all worn. They're all unhappy. I guess we never really looked at the cylinder bores themselves, did we? So let's flip it over and take a look at the bores. No point in looking at the rust and whatever. We want to mostly look at like the actual condition of the cylinder bores. Oh yeah, that's some wear right there. Yuck. It's a pretty long stroke engine. I mean, I know it's the stroked out 3.9, but still, like, I'm surprised at how long the stroke is on that. Yeah, that down there is just from me wiping with a rag. No lip or anything on it. Really, the bores don't feel too terrible, other than that one that had that big splotch of, I don't know what it was, corrosion or whatever. But overall, the bores don't look that bad. Well, let's see what we can see of the camshaft. Yeah, I mean, it's just wear. The prognosis, if you skip to the end just to find out what was wrong in the first place, we had 4 out of the 6 pistons straight up missing parts out of them, so nothing was going to fix that you could pour out from a bottle. Bearing surfaces overall were not too bad. Only one of them had a sloppy wrist, and not too sloppy. Rod bearings were overall, I mean, worn, like a lot of uniform wear, but none of them were catastrophic. Crank bearings, a couple of them had some, well, all of them were worn pretty bad. A couple of them had like things that would catch your fingernail pretty bad on them. The front one especially was like a record. So that was pretty bad. That was gonna fail sooner than later. Camshaft doesn't look too bad. I mean, aside from just being worn. Again, a lot of uniform wear, but missing piston parts. That'll get you every time. Anyway, thanks for hanging out.